Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Startup Series. I am so excited to present my guest today, content creator, fashionista from what I see anyway, and influencer on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, Eve Lilly. So I'm going to hand over to her to give a quick introduction.
Hi, I'm Eve Lilly. I'm an influencer on mostly Instagram and TikTok. Just started getting into YouTube, trying to see where that goes. But yeah, just doing like fashion stuff, thrifting, stuff like that.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I've your YouTube, obviously, the most recent one, 5 days ago.
Yes.
Firstly, just want to talk about the cats.
Oh
They
my
are
God.
so, how many do you have?
I have four.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
did you say they're named after characters from, is it Little
The
Shop?
Rocky Horror Show.
Oh, Rocky Horror Show.
Yes. Yeah, they're so cute.
So much. No, I mean, it's amazing. I've been on your page, I've seen everything. And actually something I wanted to talk about. I know we're going to jump straight in, but you have this confidence that honestly, when I was watching your YouTube channel, now I'm going to put it in the description here, and I really encourage people to watch it because you have this confidence in yourself that is really, really inspiring, especially for me.
Oh, thank you.
But where does that come from?
Look, it's surprising that you say that because I'm the least confident person. Really, like I think I'm okay maybe talking to a camera, like I've learned how to do it. And like one-to-one I'm okay, but I think I'm very like socially awkward, and just if anyone meets you for the first time they will call me shy. So like it's quite surprising that you say I'm so confident.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been more in the sense, like, generally, literally, when you were talking, it was this inner confidence that you exude when you talk about yourself and when you talk about
Mm,
fashion. I think you were discussing, I think someone asked you, what's your inspiration? And you were discussing how, it kind of, the first bit comes from yourself, and then you've got bits from reels and like high-end fashion. But
yeah.
it was more that it's like actually that in itself, and you just being confident in putting outfits together and wearing what you want. I know you were saying someone asked you if they give you like funny looks when you're out in Manchester, and you were like, yes and no, they do. And they like, what, just for people out there, that people are very self-conscious about what they wear.
Yeah.
What do you have any advice for people in that sense to just follow their own trend?
Yeah, I think you're right. Like I am confident in how I dress and like how I present myself, and it's taken quite a long time to get there. And I think like experimenting with my appearance and my dress since being a teenager has
Mm.
sort of just like got me to kind of learn what works for me and what I feel best in. And I think all that's important is like if you look in the mirror and you like what you're wearing, like who cares what anyone else thinks?
Mm.
And I just surround myself with people who aren't judgmental and just the right kind of people.
Yeah. Have you had people in your life before that that were judgmental? Have you like you gone through all of that and you cut people?
Yeah, I think like at school, like I was not popular. Like I was sort of like the weird kid because I was just wearing like all vintage clothing. I had blue hair. I had like way too much makeup on, and I was just kind of looked at as like a sort of weird kid amongst like a school of very like normal children.
Yeah.
So I'm used to being like not popular and kind of perceived in a negative way for my appearance.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because even looking at your page, talking to you now, there are so many people out there, including myself, that will look at people on Instagram and they'll be very influenced, whether it's the Kardashians, as you know, and there's
Yeah.
so many people out there, and I've got nothing against surgery whatsoever, but it's making people look quite similar. That's why I
Uh-huh.
saw your page. It was so refreshing to see you just channeling you.
Oh, thank you.
No, it's really amazing. But I mean, what kind of got you into going into fashion, becoming an influencer? What got you?
Mhm. So I've always been into fashion since I was a child. Like I used to go through my granny's wardrobe and I used to wear her wedding shoes, just like into town, just to like go to the shop. Like I've always been quite quirky and wanted to wear like vintage pieces and stuff. And then getting into influencing. So I moved to Spain randomly, during lockdown. And since I don't speak Spanish, I was like, what can I do as a job to be able to stay here?
Yeah.
So yeah, I was on like on my balcony with my mum, And I was just sat there and I was like, Mum, I think I've got something about me that's a bit interesting and cool that maybe people might find it interesting if I started posting stuff online. And she was like, yeah, just go for it. So all through lockdown, basically I was still working full time, but like on my lunch break. So I was just making those of TikToks. And yeah, I just kind of, it just went well for me. Like I blew up within, I don't know, 5 months of starting posting. So it went pretty well for me. And yeah, went from there.
That's so good. And just going a bit deeper into that, so there's a lot of people that will do it for a week, and if they don't blow up, they stop. What advice do you have for people? I know you're probably going to say consistency, but I know, what was it like for you?
Yeah, so it is definitely just like keep going, and like even if 10 people see it, like can you imagine like those 10 people being in a room like giving you nice compliments? Like that would be such a lovely thing. And I've never been before that, like I didn't have many followers on Instagram or anything, so I wasn't used to like getting a lot of comments, or like, so anything felt really nice for me. And I think, yeah, just like keeping going, and if it's like your passion and you enjoy it, it's not really about the clout or like who you're reaching. It's about like you're doing something that you enjoy.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that's the thing. It's always now, because so many people are blowing up quite quickly, or that's what,
Yeah.
anyway. They think, oh, I can't do that, or it's ego. You know, have you ever had that where you want to post something, but you're so worried about what people are going to think?
Yeah, I think so. Like at the very beginning, because all the followers that I had on Instagram were only like people from school.
Mm.
So I'm thinking these people do not like how I dress. So like, why am I posting this? But you have to like kind of filter them out. So like I lost all of those as followers. I didn't want them anyway, because like I don't want these people to follow me if they're not interested, and it's not going to be good for the algorithm anyway if they're not interacting. So you sort of filter out those people, and then you start gaining the followers that are actually interested. And then I think after that, I had like a very small following of like 5,000 to 10,000 people, and they were all so engaged with me and like very invested in me and very, very complimentary, that it made it like so easy for me to just post everything. And then if you like fast forward to now, where I'm a bigger influencer, now I start getting that hate again because it's reaching like different people. So I feel like at the very beginning, after I filtered out those first people, I found it so easy to just post anything because everyone was nice. And now I find it more like I get cringed out. I think, oh, who's going to see this and what are they going to say? And I'm more wary of getting like negative comments now.
And how do you handle the negativity?
Uh, like it just depends what it is. If it's like sometimes it's like surface level, like they just didn't like a pair of shoes that I wore, and I'm like, okay, whatever, like I'll move on. If it's like something that is an insecurity of mine, like it does hit me quite hard. I'm not very thick-skinned, so I think that is like probably one of the biggest negative sides of influencing, is that people are just so brutal online because they have like this shield, like they always have like no display picture, like no bio, they're like private accounts. So yeah, you don't know anything about them, you can't pinpoint who this person is. It's just some randomer who's like, someone the other day said like, what's wrong with your face? And I was like, oh my god. And it hits you, you're like, why is someone saying that?
God, that is crazy. You think at school and stuff, you go through the bullying, you do all of that, and then you don't expect grown adults to continue that behavior. It's
Yeah.
so many people are really put off by it, but you still keep going. And I think that's probably because I know that people can see these comments, especially on TikTok. Some of my friends are influencing, some of them delete the comments, some of them keep them, and they have this army of support around them that will keep on commenting,
Yeah.
which is quite cool. But yeah, no, I mean, going through your YouTube and watching that, it's, even though I know you might not see it, to me, I was like, wow, okay, I'm inspired because you're really self-confident, which is
Oh,
nice to watch. But
yeah.
there's a lot of people out there that want to get into what you're getting in, what you're in now.
Mm-hmm.
They are just so worried about the hate. Do you have
Mm-hmm.
any advice for people that are concerned about that?
Mm-hmm. I think for me, I've managed to separate my like what I put out on Instagram is not me. Like it's the people who I interact with in real life, like they know the real me
Yeah.
and they are my friends. So if you can like separate the two, and I treat my Instagram as a business now, my TikTok as a business, and I just think this is just work. I'm just putting this out so that I can make some more money, and this is just what comes with that business.
Yeah.
Whereas like me, no one's actually talking to me as the person because they don't know who I am. So it's like just separating those two different sides of me.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good advice. It's always great for people knowing that, actually going into this world. So pivoting slightly then. So influencing is that your full-time job? That's what you do?
Yes, it is.
So without getting into statistics or figures or anything like that, how did you, because I know you said you were a marketing manager prior to doing this.
Yeah.
Where was the switch over? At what point did you say, right, I can do this full time?
So I'm a very impulsive person, and I take a lot of risks. So I probably did it too early. But yeah, I was the only person who wasn't furloughed from my last business. So it was just me and my boss, like working throughout lockdown. And he could see that it was happening on TikTok, and he would like kind of check in and be like, just check in like how it's going, and like if you still want to stay with the company, or like I'm so like, he was so supportive of me going and like seeking this new opportunity. So that helped. But I think I hadn't even secured a deal yet when I quit my job. I hadn't earned any money from TikTok, but I could just feel it was coming. Like I could feel I was getting there. So I quit in March 2021. I quit my job.
Yeah.
And then I secured my first deal about 2 weeks after I quit. So like I knew it would happen. And then obviously you wait quite a while before you get that payment.
Yeah.
But I obviously had my last paycheck in for my last job, and also living in Spain was so cheap that it was like a bit more feasible. If I was living in the UK, so it probably wouldn't have been, but like my rent was so cheap, food was cheap. So yeah, it made it a lot more feasible.
Okay, that's really good advice, because I think there's people that live in London who try and do that too, but it's a completely different life, as you know.
Yeah, I was so lucky because I was living in London just before lockdown happened, but I was in between houses, so I didn't actually have any rent. I was literally looking for a new house, and then I was about to secure my housing. Everyone went into lockdown, and luckily I could just move to my dad's and just save up all of my income. So I had quite a lot of savings, and like I was okay. But yeah, if I'd been living in London and had been doing this without it being locked down and having to pay London rent, I would not have quit so early.
No, that's really good advice. I know people, I spoke to someone the other day, similar field to you, wanted to quit. And I just thought, you've just moved to London, secured a place. Like it's a different, however, again, if you have savings, it's a completely different scenario.
Yeah.
But something else I saw on your YouTube that I wanted to ask you about. Obviously, you spoke about your relationship and you spoke about that story. Now, all I wanted to ask you around that was, you are in a field where you work for yourself, essentially. Now, there are people out there, entrepreneurs, even like myself, that really are a bit funny about dating, about who they're around, because you know what people are like. You rely on yourself so much to bring in income that anybody can distract you. What kind of mindset did you go into dating with when you were
well, I'm like, I've always wanted a boyfriend. Like it's been like, I feel like my goals are more personal related than business related. So as much as like I was very much working at home and like in like this, what's the word, like boss bitch kind of attitude, like trying to get everything done, my dream was to like have cats, have a nice house, and have a happy relationship. So like I was going on dates all the time and like really actually seeking a boyfriend and like really wanted it to happen. So I guess it wasn't something that I saw as getting in the way, and it actually helps. It makes me work more having a boyfriend.
Really?
It's because he gets up and has his 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So when he gets up at 7 a.m., I get up at 7 a.m. Whereas before I was getting up at like 11 a.m. because I had no one's alarm to get me up, or no one to like hold me accountable. But now like I get up with him, start getting ready, and then by 10 a.m. like I've started work. So it's actually, and I also know that he's going to get back at 7 p.m. So I want to be done by 7 p.m. So I'm in such a more healthy work stream now.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, because there is this misconception that when you're building something, relation, if you're, to be fair, I guess if you're around the wrong people, it can really distract you. But I know that
Yeah.
a lot of people say even dating is a distraction. You've got to be one dimensional. But I kind of feel what you're feeling in the sense of maybe
Hmm.
a relationship, you being personally happy helps the rest of what you're
Oh
doing.
yeah, 100. I think I'm just so much happier. Like I'm happier and healthier with having him in my life. And before it's just like quite a lonely, it's a lonely job because you're always just inside on your own. So it's nice to have someone to wake up to and it gives you a bit more motivation. And I don't know, it's just put me in a better place work-wise and personal-wise.
That's so good. That's so
Yeah.
good. And just going into that a bit more, when you were dating, there's a lot of people out there, they kind of change themselves to kind of, I don't know, attract the right person, or they're not
Hmm.
who they are. Do you have any advice for people that, well, for them to stay true to who they are?
Um, yeah, I feel like I've personally have never like I've always been so I say I'm shy. The one place I'm not shy is on dates.
I
Like
love that.
I'm very confident, like one-on-one, like with a guy. I'm just like, this is me. And like there's no point pretending to be someone else because if you want it to work out with them, they're gonna see your true colors eventually. So you may as well just be yourself and see if they're the one for you and vice versa.
Yeah. And you were just dating loads, just going on so.
I was just on Hinge 24/7, like
I love it so much. I know that these questions, they don't seem so business related, but actually over the past few months, I've found that, and what we were just talking about, when you're personally not happy and if a relationship makes you happy, you
yeah.
do that, make that a priority. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
100%. I think relationship and just like family and cats for me, like they are my priorities. Like work is like it doesn't take priority for me as much as it is like a big part and it's how I make my income. Like I'm not like one of those influencers like 24/7 filming every single part of their lives. Like I want to have a good work life balance.
Wow, that's so refreshing to hear. It's different because honestly, everybody I've spoken to, it's so one dimensional.
Yeah.
We work, everything else will work out in itself. But recently I've been finding that doing that doesn't work for me. You achieve stuff, but you're not personally happy because you haven't got the
Hmm.
people around you. But
Hmm.
in regards to what's next for you in the sense of influencing, moving forward, do you have any plans in regards to, I don't know, starting your own fashion line or doing anything like that?
Yeah, so we've had like talks before with companies who have wanted to launch a line with me, and
Yeah.
like it's definitely something I'd love to do, but I think I just need to find the right people to work with.
Yes.
And because I'm so like specific with, I wouldn't want to produce anything that I wouldn't wear. So like I've had someone come to me and like wanting me to launch like gym gear, and like, I don't go to the gym. Like, have you ever seen any content of me that's like gym related? So I was like, yeah, so I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. So I just want to find like the right people and also having like, I'm very, very bad with my money. So I need to save something to have like a good budget to
Yeah.
put behind it. But yeah, I think in terms of goals, like I just want to keep growing and like I see people doing events and like doing things that I'm not doing yet. And I'm kind of like, I really want to get there. So as much as I do have, I guess, a healthy work-life balance, I am still like very driven and like have like these big goals. And it doesn't seem so unrealistic now that I've done some of the things that I've done. It doesn't seem unrealistic that one day I could be at some of these like crazy events.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my last question for you is when it came to, I mean, I feel like this is an easy one for you because it's who you are, but your
Mhm.
niche and what you wanted to portray on social media, did you have to really think about what you were portraying, or did you just do it because that was who you are?
No, I did definitely really think about it. Like, I think I'm a bit of a people pleaser. Initially, I think I was buying quite a lot of fast fashion,
Mm,
and doing like ASOS hauls and stuff. And then when I kind of started educating myself more on fast fashion, and it was just becoming quite prevalent, like in 2020, I feel like a lot of people were talking about how bad it was and like Shein and stuff like that. So I sort of like changed my shopping habits. I guess because of obviously the environment and because I want to be more ethical, but also like I don't want to get hate and I don't want to get cancelled. So I'm like conscious of like what I'm putting out, and like I have to admit I do overconsume. Like I said, I'm very bad with my money and I don't want to portray like or advertise overconsumption. So I am like conscious of rewearing my pieces and putting out like a good message of trying to be more ethical. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do think about it quite a lot.
No, that's really good to know, because I know that the fast fashion, I've seen a lot of people recently, especially on my For You page. It's all shame,
Mhm.
it's all that kind of thing. And I think it's becoming this ethical debate now. What just on that, what do you think
Yeah.
that people are still heavily promoting it? It's huge.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and I understand why influencers would, because I feel like these fast fashion brands have the big budgets, whereas the high-end brands, they have so many influencers want to work with them so bad that they'll do it for cheap.
Yeah.
So like I understand in sense of like moving forward with your business, maybe you want to do it to make more money.
No, it's really good. It's because there's people out there, and they have this kind of moral debate, especially at the beginning of their career, where it's, I don't agree with fast fashion, but I need a job and I need
Yeah.
a deal. So it's almost like, what do they do in that sense? It's one of those. It's a tough one.
Yeah, it is difficult. And I think like I've succumbed to it before where I've taken that one that because I needed money at the time. And I think I've taken 2 fast fashion deals ever.
Yeah.
And one of them was just before I was moving from Spain to the UK. And I was like, oh, if I get that money, like that will help me so much
Yeah.
with my personal life. And I think people forget like influencers are not perfect people. They're just people.
Yeah.
So we're just people doing our jobs. And if this opportunity comes in, like sometimes it's too good of an opportunity to miss. And then sometimes you're in a place where you can say no. And as often as I can, I do.
Mm.
So yeah, I don't judge people for doing it. I judge people for doing like Shein hauls when they can afford like a decent haul, or like go thrifting or something. But I won't necessarily judge people because you don't know their financial situation.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's good to know, because obviously, I mean, recently there was this thing with Sidemen and KSI. They released that video, and KSI obviously said a racial slur, and it
Yeah.
destroyed him. And he said exactly what you said, and I think a lot of people commented on that, where it was like influencers aren't perfect, but there's
Mhm.
this crazy pressure to be role models that if they do one thing wrong,
Mhm.
it's just complete downfall.
Yeah, I think I have this massive fear of that, and I'm always so conscious of how I say things and what I'm saying, especially with that YouTube video, like just very wary of offending people.
How do you deal with that? Do you find that pressurizing, or is it just in you now to be cautious and media trained, if you will?
Um, I think I've just learned from previous, well, it's not even mistakes, it's just even I had in like my old house in Spain,
Yeah.
I had a drum. It was just like in my rented house, and I had a vase on the drum, and I did like a little house tour thing, and someone replied to me being like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but she said that drum, and then said the name of the drum is actually a piece of like historical history of this culture, and it's very offensive that you've put a vase on it.
Oh
And
God.
oh, I just thought it was like I don't know, that it was just a rented house,
Yeah.
and then someone commented on that, so I'm like just conscious of, yeah,
Oh,
conscious of what could be offensive.
that is tough. That's
Yeah.
so tough. But I mean, you actually don't realize sometimes what influencers go through, especially as you get bigger. The pressure becomes so much more.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I know some of the YouTube stars, they've spoken about it before, in the sense of this pressure, exactly what you're talking about. They can't, it's like walking on eggshells, you know,
Yeah.
the amount that they have to do with editing and go through every editing to make sure they haven't said anything bad, or
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, I think like the thing is, I feel like I'm expected to know everybody's history of their culture, and I don't like. I'm just a normal person who's grown up with my culture and understands like certain things, but I just don't know everything, so I can't know what's going to offend and what doesn't. So you do have to. I find myself like checking what I've said isn't like a racial slur by accident, or like a homophobic slur by accident, or you just find yourself check in what you've said. Yeah.
Have you ever had that where you put something up and someone commented and said something and you've had to take the video down, or have you been quite lucky in that sense?
I was describing a dress as poofy,
Right.
and someone told me it was a homophobic slur. So
You can't say anything. Do you know what's really interesting though? It's people's perception and the way they interpret stuff too. So I guess it's one of those ones where I can sit here and I can say, you know, why would they do that? But then again, I have no idea.
No, exactly. Like I don't have an idea either. Like if it offends them, of course I apologize. Like I'm in fashion industry. I think people assumed that I don't know, I have a very unhealthy diet, or like I exercise too much, or like I'm trying to promote an unhealthy lifestyle, but I'm actually just naturally like a skinny person. And I think calling someone skinny can be as offensive as calling someone fat.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of my friends as well who are influencers, they've had like eating disorders and then they get shamed for being too skinny. And I think that's another thing within it. Luckily, like I haven't suffered with anything. I'm just naturally a thin person, so it doesn't like affect me really badly. But yeah, you have to like just, I think, just be careful what you say, and then also people watching content should be careful how they're, even if they're commenting it in a positive way, skinny can be an offensive term to someone who's suffered with an eating disorder.
It's really interesting to hear from like the other side of it and how much you have to think about everything, and even comments where, like you said, it might have been about one thing before, but then they'll find something for it to be about. But it's like, it's almost like your feelings as an influencer don't come into play. Like people are they're allowing themselves to say whatever they want to you.
Yeah. I don't think they realize that I'm a person and I read them. And I don't think they realize that this is like, these comments affect me and affect every influencer. They just see it as like a pretend person on the internet who doesn't have a real life. But yeah, we do. And it's like, it's definitely the worst part about my job. Yeah.
I get, that's the thing. And I think that's the thing with other people. I know that they get to a point and they're like, actually, no, we're going to stop here, because the hate gets really bad. I mean, as people that are more ignorant about it, they'll be sat on the other side of the computer just writing stuff, and they think it won't mean anything. I know when I first started Endorse Me, my company, and we put out a post and it was a competition, and there were, for some reason, all boys had got through. I think it was just the way it was, and I didn't think anything about it. Had thousands of women sending awful messages to me.
Yeah.
Gets to you, doesn't it? It's like, that was a simple mistake that will be rectified, but you have to, even with your rectification, you have to be so good at what you say. It's
I think that's like probably one of the biggest contradictions of being an influencer, is that people want you to be very, very real and very, very raw and like show the real you, and that's how they get invested in you as an influencer. But at the same time, like you have to be so careful and watching so much about what you say that you can't be authentically yourself, because you're trying to please everyone. So yeah, it's quite difficult, and I think that's why I probably do mostly just fashion stuff, where I just talk about clothes and show less of my personal life, because I honestly am just fearful of that. Yeah.
Do you see it moving in a direction where people will become slightly kinder, just in light of everything that's happened over the past few years? You know, with all the celebrities, as you know, we all know what's happened there.
Yeah. I really, really hope so. I really do. I think, I mean, people say that like the Gen Z are the kind of generation. I don't know if I've seen that myself. I don't know. All I can say is that I hope so, but I just don't want there to have to be another like celebrity death or something that triggers that. Like, I don't know, there's been so many people who have been bullied online, and then something terrible has happened that you'd think that people would learn by now.
This is it. I think that's the one thing I'm hoping for as well, is that people think about what they say before they write it.
Yeah.
It's abusive, and it's just, like you said, there's a person, they're people, influencers are people with, it's not just because we're sat at home and we're not, you know, we might be jealous of them that we think we can say what we want. That's not okay. But it's thank you firstly for sharing everything about
That's all right.
And with your final message, is there anything that you'd want to say to any upcoming influencers out there?
I think I'd just say if you're kind of at the beginning, just keep being consistent and just like be prepared to kind of embarrass yourself a little bit, because you will look back and be like, well, what was that? But that is what people like about you, and that's what that kind of kickstarts your career. And in terms of like comments and stuff, you just have to try your best to ignore them and remember that these people are probably have their own issues, and that's the reason that they're commenting, and they're not the sort of people you would associate yourself with in real life anyway, so it shouldn't matter.
That's really good advice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Having you, and I'm going to link your YouTube channel because I really urge everyone to watch your YouTube video, especially the last one. It's so good, and we love
Thank you.